All right, Mulibwanj, Team Malawi, Paksu, thank you for your efforts. We're just going to observe some of the things that are needed to finalize your file before progressing to the workshop. We'll just go through quickly because connecting the call has been a bit difficult. The main thing with the S module is down here in the gross margins. There are some very extremely high gross margins, 2, 6, 7 and a bit thousand US dollars per hectare. You please check them and make sure that they are correct. This is USD gross margin per hectare. So essentially the income that comes after costs for those. So those seem extremely high for farming systems in Malawi. So if you could please check them. Please go to the S results. Does this make sense? It looks mainly okay, but please check that all of this is logical and makes sense. There's no issues here in F. In P, I removed one of your constraints, so it's been simplified down. At the moment, I don't have any observations for P. I think it's mostly good to go, but please go to the results tab and see if you agree. So does all of this make sense? Please check. The main issue is that we still have some issues with the C- module. So in terms of the C module, there's still a few things in C- to address. I'll put them in red boxes. So this first one is around insufficient water, low seasonal rainfall. You've got the unit's average seasonal rainfall, but you've got it going up. So a catastrophic year, there is 600 millimeters of rainfall, and in mild year, there is 400 millimeters of rainfall. That's just excess water, not insufficient. So I suggest that your unit here should be millimeters below average, below annual average. You can see what it was in 2024, and then how many millimeters below the annual average are these numbers. So please correct those numbers. The second one is around heat stress. You've got a definition here that doesn't really relate to that. It's all of these different things about outcome, but we're talking about not the outcome, we're talking about the actual climatic event that we have here. So please update your definition here. Also want to check as we come down for insect and disease. This is specifically about climate-driven impact and disease. Make sure that when you go through this tool, you're thinking about because of climate, insects are getting worse, or because of climate, diseases are getting worse. You can see this next one is around flash flooding. Number of flash floods per season. You've got one flash flood, 0 and 0. So there is something wrong with these units. I would suggest that this would be days of flash floods during season. And then please update these for the number of days where there is flash flooding during the season. Please update your definition here as well, because again, that is output. We're not worried about output, we're worried about the actual climatic event. Finally, you've got this storm intensity. Is this double counting the flash flooding, or is this separate? You may wish to delete this line because it's not, you're counting twice with the flash flooding and the heavy rainfall. So you may wish to only select one of those instead of having both. The CV module, we want you to start at 100% and then move backwards thinking, why would something not be impacted? So here, what you're saying is that 60% of maize is vulnerable to insect outbreak and 40% is not vulnerable. So why would 40% of maize not be vulnerable to insect outbreaks, or 50% of maize not be vulnerable to disease outbreaks, or 75% of maize not be vulnerable to flash flooding or heavy rainfall. So these numbers seem a bit low. You have to have a reason why groundnut is not vulnerable to insects. Is there a reason why sweet potato is not vulnerable to heat stress? So please check these numbers again. When you redo your C- module, you will see that the units don't make sense. So this line needs to be again checked. And in your CI module, what you can see is that the numbers you have are different, but there is some huge jumps here. So what you're suggesting is that maize that is not impacted by low seasonal rainfall can yield 8 tonne per hectare. That's fine, but then this next unit, a mild impact year, is a 50% reduction in yield. So that implies that that's not really a mild event. To lose 50% of yield to a mild event year suggests that there's something wrong here. And it may be the units that you change as well. So when you change the units in C-, you will need to re-review this whole module to make sure that it makes sense. But you would not expect a 50% drop in yield from a non-event to a mild event year. There's some similar things as we go through. If there is only 1 day of flash flooding, so this line is incorrect as well because the units are wrong. So you really need to go through this and check what the numbers that you've put in. One way you can do it is to use this filter here, and you can go, instead of these are ordered by crops, you can just order by the challenge. And you can go in and see if there is, see your numbers just based on the climate events. So please have a look at these numbers once you've updated C-, and see, particularly where there are these big jumps in the yields. Is it really a mild event year if you lose 50% of your yield? Okay, Zikomo.